As a healthcare organization, you already know that there are certain laws and regulations in place that you need to follow. That's the easy part. What's more difficult, though, is providing proof. You need to show that your organization makes consistent efforts towards complying with those laws. Even though being fully compliant isn't an attainable goal, it's still something that you need to make an effort towards constantly. If you don't, you'll get slammed with a fine the moment an audit comes your way. If you're a medical professional, you know I'm referring to the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, aka HIPAA. In other words, you recognize that it exists to keep sensitive information for every patient private and secure. One of the most heavily emphasized requirements within HIPAA is employee training. The law mentions this in both the privacy rule and the security rule. Both sections state that training your employees on the intricacies of the respective section is a requirement. However, they don't say when or how often they require your team to attend a training session or what format they should be in. Hi everyone, I'm Matt from eTactics, and today I'm going to explain the top 5 reasons why you should use online healthcare compliance training. Before we get started though, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking the button below. While you're down there, hit that alert bell icon next to it as well, so when we post new helpful content, you get notified. The first and number one reason why you should implement online healthcare compliance training is because of its availability and time savings. We live in a world where patients can virtually summon their physicians at the palm of their hand through telemedicine technologies, and doctors can monitor their patients from a remote location with the help from mHealth technologies. In other words, the healthcare industry is starting to realize the benefits of electronic experiences. When you offer your employees online compliance training, you won't have to worry about scheduling a meeting with all or a group of your employees. Instead, you can send out or assign your session when you want to and set a deadline for it. From there, your employees will be able to access the module you sent out from wherever, whenever, on whichever device that they want to. They won't have to worry about stopping what they're working on and physically bring themselves to a room for an in-person training session. With in-person training, it takes 10 minutes and 40 seconds on average to get started between introductions and small talk. The second reason to use online healthcare compliance training is that it increases engagement and retention. Let's face it, the traditional classroom setting isn't very exciting. I'm not saying that to offend the teachers, instructors, or professors of the world. Instead, I'm really trying to say that there's a reason why the majority of kids didn't want to go to school growing up. In fact, when I say traditional teaching, what do you think of? Depending on your generation, you might have a different idea as to what that looks like to you, but to me as a millennial, I get flashbacks of teachers using their old projector screens with clear laminated material and vis-a-vis markers. Unfortunately, that doesn't change that much in our careers either. Almost 40% of employees admit to daydreaming during meetings and conference calls. Meanwhile, the Research of America found that online courses increase student retention rates by 25 to 60%. Third, online healthcare compliance training gives your employees independence. It's no secret that people work better at their own pace. After all, experts actually think it's dangerous for organizations to take an overly fast-paced mindset as it leads to more mistakes. The only way to make compliance training independent in any capacity is to host it online. This section goes hand in hand with the previous one that I just talked about. Switching from in-person to electronic allows your employees to work through your requirement on their time. They won't have to plan their week around an upcoming meeting anymore. Instead, they can complete their online assignment when they have downtime. Brian Hall Group determined that it takes 40 to 60% less time to get through an e-learning session than it does a traditional setting. Since your newly implemented electronic sessions won't take nearly as long, your employees will be much more inclined to complete them in the off hours. Even if they complete these online sessions on company time, they'll still feel an overwhelming sense of relief when they realize how much more time they have in their day upon completion. Fourth, online healthcare compliance training takes the burden off of you as the manager who assigns it on an annual basis with automation. Even though it's your responsibility to implement some sort of HIPAA training for your employees, that's not your only responsibility. For this section, I'm going to assume that you're the owner of a healthcare practice or facility. However, this section does still apply to those fringe business associates who provide services to medical organizations and have to sign a BAA, so keep watching. The point I'm trying to make is that you have too many responsibilities as it is already. Thus, create a fully fleshed out training module isn't something that you have time for. Maybe I'm wrong and you do have enough space in your schedule, so you decide to make your own module. Less than 40% of companies consider their in-house training effective. That statistic means that making your own module usually results in ineffective educational sessions for your employees. Thus, you're still likely going to face an unintentional HIPAA violation down the road. As a result, you should outsource your compliance training to a vendor that's devoted to making it fun and engaging. That way, you're saving yourself time, getting a return on your investment, and protecting your organization if an audit occurs. The final major benefit that comes from using online healthcare compliance training is that this type of training provides proof. If you scroll through anyone's LinkedIn profile, you'll end up finding a section where they list all of their certifications. Seeking certifications is an important part of continuing education. They're a form of proof to current and future employers that you're bettering yourself during your professional career. Although I will say that HIPAA certifications are a little bit different. They're not so much for career growth as they are for acting as information to give to an auditor to show that your organization has safeguards in place to protect the sensitive information that you work with. Online healthcare compliance training is the future. It's much easier to outsource to a reputable organization that's devoted to making fun, engaging training modules than it is to go the traditional route. It's also much more effective because your employees can access what they need to from anywhere at any time. If you'd like to learn more about online healthcare compliance training, reach out to eTactics. And you already made this far into the video, so you might as well like it, share it, and comment below. Well, what are you waiting for? Subscribe to our YouTube channel.